In 22 ABY, Mara Jade Skywalker decided to end her partnership with Carter to fully commit to her marriage and her role as a Jedi Knight. Before departing, she had one final mission: to inform smuggler Jeff Huxley that Carter's group was releasing him from employment. Angered, Huxley attempted to intimidate her with a makeshift droideca, but the Skywalkers easily subdued the smugglers and destroyed the droid. Immediately afterward, they received an invitation from the Chiss, relayed by Carde, to represent the Jedi in the recovery of the outbound flight project ruins which had been destroyed by Thrawn, and were now located in a Chiss stronghold known as the Redoubt. However, Carter also warned them that the original message had been stolen by a former employee named Dean Ginsler. The Skywalkers traveled as honorary guests aboard the Chaff Envoy. Upon their arrival, a cable detached from the ceiling and nearly struck Luke Skywalker, who deftly avoided it. Though the incident was suspicious, the two Jedi were unharmed, and Jade Skywalker later investigated the fixture. During her inspection, she encountered Chak Fel and 4 stormtroopers from the Empire of the Hand. Fortunately, neither Fel nor the stormtroopers appeared hostile, as they were also interested in the remains of outbound flight. Before departing, the Chaff Envoy was approached by an outdated vessel carrying a group of people called the Jaroons, who claimed to have been saved from slavery years ago by the Jedi aboard outbound flight. The Chiss allowed some of the Jaroons to board the Chaff Envoy as representatives, and the impoverished people were awed by the presence of the two Jedi. Eventually, the party, including the Jaroon representatives Dean Ginsler, posing as a New Republic representative, Chak Fel, and the stormtroopers, set out for the Redoubt. However, none of the disparate groups trusted one another or their Chiss host. Jade adopted his surname and dedicated herself to the new Jedi Order, becoming a Jedi Master. Just before the Yuuzhan Vong War, she was infected by deadly Coom spores from a Yuuzhan Vong agent. She used the Force to slow the disease's progression while continuing to fight the alien invaders on multiple fronts, including Dantooine and Ithor. The disease was purged from her system following the birth of her son Ben in 26 ABY. As a Jedi Master, she took her niece Jaina Solo as an apprentice until she reached knighthood, participating in several Jedi offensives against the Yuuzhan Vong. After Coruscant's fall, she played a key role in electing Cal Omas as Chief of State during the reformation into the Galactic Federation of Free Alliances. Her efforts culminated in the final battle on Coruscant, resulting in the death of Supreme Overlord Shimra Jamane. In the subsequent years, Mara Jade Skywalker remained active during the Dark Nest Crisis and the Swarm War, helping to counter the expansionist plans of Raynar Thul and the insectoid Killiks. She insisted that Jedi who had joined the Killik communities withdraw, as they were using their combat skills against the Chiss, provoking conflict. She continued to serve alongside her husband as a Jedi Master during the Second Galactic Civil War, initially aligning with the Galactic Alliance against the Confederation. Another threat emerged with the Sith Lady Lumiya, whom she and her husband engaged multiple times alongside the fallen Jedi Alima Rar. As the war intensified, Mara Jade Skywalker was ultimately killed by her nephew Jacen Solo, after discovering his Sith allegiance and viewing him as a personal threat to her family, the Jedi Order, and the galaxy. Mara Jade was born in 17 BBY during a tumultuous period when Emperor Palpatine, known as the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, and his apprentice Darth Vader were exterminating the remnants of the Jedi Order. The Emperor took Mara from her parents at a young age and brought her to Coruscant, where she began her training in the Force, although officially she was one of the Imperial Palace's dancers. Years later, Mara remembered little of her early life apart from her parents' reluctance to let her go and her own certainty about leaving with the Emperor. She recalled having a falling star globe as a child and getting in trouble for breaking it to see how it worked. Her master trained her rigorously, transforming her into an agent of the Empire. Many at the Imperial court assumed she was merely a dancer or one of Palpatine's concubines. Throughout her youth, Mara underwent an intensive training regimen, which included training alongside the Imperial Royal Guard and learning covert espionage and assassination skills. By the age of 14, she had become adept at these skills and was made an Emperor's Hand, one of Palpatine's personal assassins, after successfully infiltrating Grand Moff Wilhuff Tarkin's private quarters. During a formal event at Tarkin's residence, Mara feigned illness to slip away from the guests, retrieved a sack of equipment, and descended the building to reach Tarkin's private safe. She engaged a group of guards, which were actually droids, with her blaster and lightsaber. Sensing that one guard was living, she chose to knock him out rather than kill him, impressing both Vader and Sidious, who pronounced her the Emperor's hand. Despite there being multiple Emperor's hands, Mara, like the others, was unaware of any other's existence. Due to her deep connection with the Force, she could hear Palpatine's voice anywhere in the galaxy through a telepathic link. Mara carried out Palpatine's will across numerous worlds, eliminating corrupt Imperial officials, traitors, and others deemed deserving of death. Her master's esteem for her was such that he allowed her time for relaxation, a rarity in Palpatine's usual style. She received a personal starship, a protocol droid named K3 to aid in her duties, and private quarters on Coruscant, where she kept her lightsaber and a Lanvarok for left-handers in her personal weapon collection. Before the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of the DS-1 orbital battle station, Mara was tasked with gathering intelligence to hunt down surviving Jedi from Order 66. One such Jedi was Anya Kuro. She learned of Kuro's location on the fifth planet of the Kofrigan system from a man trying to escape Imperial custody on Quat, who had obtained the information from a Sokorian smuggler. Though Mara lobbied the Emperor to be the one to eliminate Kuro, Vader was sent instead. Following the Battle of Yavin and before the Battle of Hoth, Mara spied on Darth Vader, delivering reports on his actions to the Emperor. She even observed his assault on the Massassi temples, which resulted in the capture of rebel commander Yan Dodonna. During her missions, she sensed a division within Vader and became envious of him, hoping he would betray the Emperor so she could kill him and take his place. Despite her spy activities, she still performed tasks for Vader, such as uncovering information about rebel droids C-3PO and R2-D2 for him. Around 1.5 ABY, she participated in the Empire Day celebration on Naboo, where she tasked Imperial operatives with rescuing 6 Imperial officers from a hidden rebel base on Corellia, an operation that was successfully completed. Around the time of the Battle of Hoth, Mara visited Belsavis. She also investigated Moff Glovestok, posing as Countess Claria, and discovered his embezzlement activities. She infiltrated his office during a formal party and found stolen paintings worth millions of credits. Reporting her findings to Palpatine, she also saved General Dirian, whom she believed to be honest, from the fallout of Glovestok's downfall. Upon Glovestok's arrest, Jade took on the task of uncovering who had delivered the paintings and those who had aided the Moff. Her investigation began at the auction house where the paintings had been sold, but it yielded little information. Next, she looked into secure storage sites and found a promising lead at the Bertrab Brothers Storage and Reclamation Center, where she sensed criminal activity. While observing the facility from a nearby tap cafe, the owners attempted to drug her, but her force senses alerted her to the danger. She confronted Petona, one of the owners, who tried to kill her. Jade easily subdued him, and he confessed that a pirate group known as the Blood Scars, a ruthless gang aiming to unite several factions to dominate the Shelsha sector, was involved. Jade stowed away on one of the pirate ships, choosing a HT-2200 medium freighter that was targeting a transport carrying Imperial military equipment. During the attack on the Happer's Way, Jade was discovered by the pirates but quickly took over the ship, captured Tanis, and signaled the reprisal via the Happer's Way's communications relay for assistance. Upon boarding the reprisal, Jade was greeted coldly by Captain Kendall Ozzel, who feared she was investigating him for the desertion of 5 stormtroopers who had killed Major Drelfin over Darek Larone's refusal to kill civilians on Teardrop. Jade requested crewers for the ship, and Colonel Vak Someril provided 2 ISB men. With Tanis and the 2 ISB men, she infiltrated the pirate base at Gepperin, posing as an independent ship thief wanting to join the Blood Scars. Upon arrival at Gepperin, Jade met the Commodore, who was suspicious of her. That evening, the 2 ISB men, ordered to eliminate her, attacked, attracting the pirates' attention. Jade attempted to deal with the Commodore, but he ignored her and had his accomplice Caldra try to kill her. Although the attempt failed, she was interrupted before she could stop Caldra and the Commodore. Meanwhile, Ozzel and Someril, determined to ensure her death, launched TIE fighters and an orbital bombardment on Gepperin. Jade raced to the command center and found the Commodore's body next to a holonet message intended for Shelkenwar. She shot down the TIE fighters, and the reprisal left in pursuit of the Millennium Falcon and the rogue stormtroopers who had appeared in system, allowing her to escape in a Z-10 Seeker. Traveling to Shelkenwar, she found Vader and the Executor already there, searching for rebel leader Leia Organa. Believing Governor Barshness Chord to be a traitor, Jade informed Vader of her suspicions. Although Vader was focused on his own search, he allowed Jade to investigate Chord. Upon landing, Jade was attacked by Caldra in a stolen all-terrain scout transport, but she was aided by the rogue stormtroopers, now known as the Hand of Judgment, and led by Darek Larone. With their help, she defeated the AT-ST, unknowingly assisted by Chewbacca in a freighter. But Caldra escaped. With her newly recruited stormtroopers, she advanced on the governor's palace, where Caldra once again tried to kill her. Jade ended his threat by redirecting his blaster bolt back at him with her lightsaber. Jade swiftly escaped while being escorted for interrogation, knocking out her captors and meeting up with Larone. She then cut a hole into the ceiling, escaping into an abandoned wing of the palace to find a way to approach Ferouz. Confirming her suspicions of his treason, she sneaked into his office following a Rebel Alliance ambassador named Vestin Axlan. Ferouz admitted his treason, explaining that he acted under duress because his wife and young daughter had been kidnapped by a powerful local warlord, Nuso Isvier. Feeling some sympathy for Ferouz, Jade postponed his execution to help rescue his family and deal with SVA first. Before she could learn more, infiltrators employed by ESVA attacked the governor's office, while other henchmen incited a riot at the gate to distract the guards. Jade fought them off as best she could, finally overcoming the attackers when Larone and Marcross ambushed them from behind. Jade then pulled Axlon and Ferouz into the governor's private exit, escaping the palace through the exit and storm drains. She called in the rest of the Hand of Judgment and secured a tap cafe as a hideout until she could rescue Ferouz's family. Jade revealed to Axlon that the governor had been acting under duress, who had hoped to broker an alliance between the rebellion and the Candoras sector. She also offered Axlon a truce while they fought Ezva's forces, giving the rebel forces in the Pone system 2 days to leave. Based on information from Ferouz, Jade deduced that a security officer named Pakri, one of her earlier captors, was working for Isva. She also learned that Isva had a significant space force, partially armed with weapons stolen from the Empire by Pakri. Jade returned to the palace to find Pakri. Meanwhile, Larone and the Hand of Judgment were attacked by Axlon, who had been courting Ezva's favor and hoped that arranging the governor's death would ingratiate him with the warlord. The Hand of Judgment eliminated Axlon and informed Jade of his treason. Jade suspected the kidnappers had used the safe room built into the governor's private exit and investigated it. She had one of the governor's security officers lure Pakri into the safe room by claiming the governor was there. She captured him but was attacked by 8 alien assassins before she could extract information. Jade killed them all, but Pakri escaped in the confusion. However, Larone had a contact who provided intelligence on the location where the family was held. Jade located a secret passageway that led there and followed it to an underground area that was heavily guarded. Ferouz then called Pakri and informed him of his location to draw off some of the guards. The ruse worked, giving Jade an opening. Seeing the passageway was mined with explosives, Jade used an alien corpse to set off the explosives as a distraction, while she worked her way along an overhead crane arm. Meanwhile, Larone's contact, rebel pilot Luke Skywalker, attempted to free the governor's family. Under fire after subduing some guards with his lightsaber, Skywalker received Jade's weapon when she tossed it to him. She deflected fire with her lightsaber as she closed on the cabin where the governor's family was held. Skywalker helped fight off the guards, while Jade freed Ferouz's wife and daughter. As Ezva's forces closed in, Jade ordered Skywalker to shoot a pool of flammable liquid she had spilled to cover their escape. The resulting explosion and Jade's skills dealt with the remaining guard. Meanwhile, the Hand of Judgment fended off Ezva's forces, and an Imperial fleet destroyed the warlord's eastern fleet. Jade allowed Ferouz to live after returning his family, considering that his treason had been imposed under extenuating circumstances. Skywalker and the Rebel Alliance managed to escape, though the Empire arranged for them to obtain supplies that would lead them to choose a remote, cold location for their next base. Jade later searched for the Hand of Judgment to see what had happened to them, but they had disappeared, and she was unable to find them. A few months before the Battle of Endor, Mara Jade was in Palpatine's chamber when Darth Vader presented the Force-sensitive cyborg Lumia to serve as another Emperor's hand. Palpatine accepted Lumia's service after Jade had been dismissed, maintaining her illusion that she was the only hand, but Jade sensed immediate hostility from Lumia. Following the Battle of Hoth, Jade became aware of Palpatine's concerns about Luke Skywalker and was sent to infiltrate Jabba the Hutt's palace on Tatooine. Disguised as the dancing girl Arika, she awaited Skywalker's arrival. During her time at Jabba's palace, Jade witnessed the arrival of C-3PO and R2-D2. After the droids were forced into service, C-3PO encountered Jade. They had a brief conversation in which she introduced herself as Arika and inquired about Skywalker before disappearing when the dancing girl Ula was executed. Melina Karnis, a member of Jabba's secret security detail, suspected Jade of plotting to assassinate the Hutt and attempted to arrest her. Jade turned the tables on Karnis, taking her into custody and using the Force to make Melina shoot one of Jabba's Gamorrean guards. Jade then fled down a tunnel, arriving at the ventilation shaft of the Rancor pit. After fighting through several guards, she watched Skywalker kill the Rancor. She used a vibro-axe to enter the ventilation shaft and, with the Force, opened the trap door to follow the crowd to the sail barge. Though she begged Jabba to let her join him at the Dune Sea, he provided her with a land speeder and banished her after she tried to use the Force on him. Unable to complete her mission, she returned to Imperial Center to face a displeased Palpatine. Years later, a Force vision revealed to Skywalker that Jade's presence at the Great Pit of Carkoon would have prevented his escape. Following her mission on Tatooine, Jade received another assignment from the Emperor, to kill Dekuk, a Geodu attempting to revive Black Sun by integrating its remnants into his own empire, the Black Nebula. Jade arrived on Svivren and began planning her mission. She reconnoitered Dekuk's base and realized she needed a distraction to sneak in unnoticed. She requested 2 squads of stormtroopers and an officer from the local Imperial garrison commander, General Tuno. Captain Strock was assigned to her, and together they planned a raid on the building next to Deku's, though Strock was unaware it was a distraction. Despite the raid failing and most of the Imperials being killed, Jade used the distraction to sneak in and assassinate a Geodu she believed to be Deku. Reporting her success to the Emperor, Jade was rewarded with a vacation. Despite trying to enjoy her time off, she couldn't stop thinking about the mission. She concluded that the assassination had been too easy, and that the guards should have been able to stop her. Testing her theory through a simulation, she found that she could only successfully kill Deku and escape unharmed 2 out of 5 times. Realizing she had killed a decoy, Jade resolved to track down and assassinate the real leader of Black Nebula. Jade intended to use her Force connection with Palpatine to report her findings, but before she could, he let her witness his destruction by both Vader and Luke Skywalker. His final command echoed through the Force, "You will kill Luke Skywalker." Overcome by his death agonies, Jade was rendered unconscious and remained in a dreamlike state for several days until she was captured by 2 henchmen of Izan Izar, Director of Imperial Intelligence. They took Jade to Isard, who imprisoned her and attempted to coerce her into aiding her bid for power using various intelligence tactics. Jade managed to escape captivity and find passage to the remote world of Forlis. Planning to lay low until she could gather enough funds to relocate, she found work as a waitress at a local cantina owned by Gorb Drigg, using the alias Kiara Lorne. For several weeks, she worked for Drigg until members of Black Nebula arrived to collect a debt he owed. Realizing Black Nebula had a presence on Forlis, Jade fought to protect Drigg from the gang members. She retrieved her lightsaber and killed the remaining Nebula members, but not before they killed Drigg and Yorshmin, a patron she had befriended. Jade set out to locate the Black Nebula base on Forlis, and discovered that the real Dikwick was based on Kiax. She infiltrated a casino owned by Dikwi and administered by a lieutenant in Black Nebula. Disguised as Baroness Paltone, she claimed to represent a mysterious corporate interest with advanced undetectable cheating methods and lock combination detection, using the Force to create these illusions to gain access to DQE. Her plan succeeded, and she was taken to Black Nebula's hidden base in the bubble cliffs of Nesme, where DQE awaited her to discuss the corporate interests she represented. Inside the base, Jade unexpectedly encountered Captain Strock, the Imperial officer she had previously worked with on Svivrin. She discovered he was actually a Black Nebula agent embedded in the Imperial Officer Corps to feed DQE information. Furious about the traitor, she decided to deal with him later. However, when she ran into him again in the base's barracks and he recognized her, she had to kill him to keep her identity secret. His death was soon discovered, forcing Jade to go on the offensive. Jade managed to reach DQE's safe house deep within the bubble cliffs. Using her lightsaber and a small explosive, she killed DQE and his guards and then escaped through one of his secret passageways. After successfully withdrawing, Jade stole one of DQE's private yachts, which contained all his private information about Black Nebula's inner workings. She left the yacht at an Imperial spaceport to be discovered by the authorities. Her hatred for Skywalker, who had destroyed her master, burned deeply within her. She vowed to kill the Jedi Knight, unaware that the Emperor's telepathic command lay at the core of her rage, making it far stronger than any ordinary desire for vengeance. Meanwhile, her life was in ruins. The resources she once had were all dependent on the Emperor, and her life of luxury, privilege, and purpose had ended. Still hunted by Izan Izard, she traversed the galaxy doing odd jobs and manual labor to survive. Her Force abilities faded, only to return in ill-timed bursts. All the while, she was haunted by the Emperor's last command, "You will kill Luke Skywalker." During her travels, she landed on Kintoni, where she spotted Rebel General Crix Medine. Jade followed him, infiltrating the building where she saw Medine interrogating former Imperial Governor Barkale. As she made her way toward the imprisoned governor, she found a datapad displaying an image of the executor. However, she was stopped in Medine's quarters by the general, who drew a blaster on her and called for reinforcements. Jade shot his weapon and used the datapad to display the image of the executor on the sensor screens, tricking the rebels into thinking the ship was after them. She stunned the guards and made a deal with Medine to let her and Barkale escape. Barkale took her back to his home, but Jade noticed a sculpture he had reported stolen or destroyed years ago, along with many other pieces of artwork. When she accused him of treasonous embezzlement, Barkale threw a vase at her. Undaunted, Jade executed him, then informed Medine of her discovery while she left the planet, reasoning that the rebels would have found the artwork anyway, and that executing Barkale had been worth it. Jade was on Chibius to attend the Coruscant Full Symphony when she encountered a young slicer named Zacharis Gent, who had unknowingly had a data card planted on him. Posing as a concert hall staff member, Jade helped Gent escape from Rains, a member of Governor Igran's staff who was trying to capture him. She took the startled Gent back to her hotel room, informing him that his visit to the hall had been a setup. When she failed to slice into the records to find out why Gent was being pursued, Gent took over and easily sliced through, revealing the motive behind the attempted kidnapping. Jade then visited the governor's palace and confronted Rains about the absence of any record of him in the governor's personnel files. Rains revealed that his real name was Marco and that he was a special aide hired for computer work. Acting as Gent's broker, Jade agreed to bring him to the palace to slice the captured computer, charging an exorbitant fee. However, she was followed on her way back to the hotel. Turning the tables, she lost her pursuit and followed them back to their hideout. Marco confronted her, leading her at blaster point to the rest of the group, revealing they were part of the Rebel Alliance. Jade agreed to bring Gent to the palace as planned, seeing an opportunity to sell out Marco and earn credits. At the palace, Gent discovered that the captured computer was a Star Destroyer's control node, not a rebel machine. Realizing Igron planned to sell the information, Jade stalled for time and used her lightsaber to create an escape route. After creating a diversion, she escaped with Gent, but Igron and Marco intercepted them. Jade executed Igron and Marco took Gent hostage. They agreed to part ways and Marco returned Gent. Jade told Ghent to return to Sibisheim while she sought work on a freighter. Unbeknownst to her, Ghent was soon hired by the smuggler Talon Karda. For the next few years, Jade drifted between odd jobs under various aliases. As Morellis, she was a come-up flector for a caprioral swoop gang. During this time, she lost the magenta-colored lightsaber given to her by Palpatine in a duel with Lumiya, who had been sent by Izan Izard to bring her back. Jade refused and escaped, though she lost her lightsaber in the process. Later, she worked as a hyperdrive mechanic on Varanat under the name Selena Marnis. Fortune finally struck when Jade saved smuggler Baron Talon Karda from an ambush on Varanat that killed Karda's second-in-command, Quelev Tappa, and almost killed Karda. Jade, as Selena, had impressed Karda by her efficiency and striking appearance. He was operating under the alias Heart, while Tappa was known as Soul. On a safari for Moradins, Karda discovered the Moradins were sentient, and that the safari leader, Gamgalon, was smuggling a catalyst for Tibanna gas grown in the jungle. Gamgalon planned to execute Karda after killing Tappa when he tried to resist. Remembering hearing about a smuggler who enjoyed wordplay in aliases and ships, Jade decided to help them out in hopes of finding a position with them. She followed them into the jungle, killed Gamgalon and his guard, and rescued Karda. Impressed, Karda offered Jade a job on the spot. Mara once told this one that all it took to lift the Emperor's veil from her eyes was a long walk in the forest with this man. That after she had come to know Luke Skywalker, it was easy to step into the light. Saba 17. Jade joined Karda's organization around 8.5 ABY. During her first 6 months with Karda, she quickly advanced within the ranks of his smuggling operation. Her force sensitivity, which had been largely dormant since Palpatine's death, resurfaced when she brought Karda's freighter, the Wild Karda, out of hyperspace for a routine check, and found Luke Skywalker's damaged X-Wing floating in space. Grand Admiral Thrawn, leading the resurgent Empire, had placed a significant bounty on Skywalker, and Karda considered selling him to Thrawn or extorting money from the New Republic for his return. Karda pulled the stranded Jedi aboard and took him to his base on Merca, where the planet's Isalamiri blocked Skywalker's force abilities. Jade initially intended to kill Skywalker, but Karda refused to allow it. However, Karda kept Skywalker and R2-D2 locked up and hid them when Thrawn arrived to collect Isalamiri. Skywalker managed to escape in a skip-ray blast boat with Jade giving chase. Both vehicles crashed in the Vornska-infested forest. Thrawn's arrival on Merca to harvest Isalamiri prevented them from contacting Karda, as Thrawn would have discovered that Karda had been withholding Skywalker. Forced to work together to survive, Jade and Skywalker fended off several Vornska attacks and made their way to Hilliard City, only to be caught in a stormtrooper ambush. Thanks to the timely intervention of Skywalker's friends Lando Calrissian, Han Solo, and some of Karda's men, they defeated the stormtroopers. Solo, Calrissian, and Skywalker then left Merca, and Karda and his organization soon fled due to a massive Imperial bounty placed on them. As the last members of the organization left Merca, Jade stayed with Karda, who decided to observe the Imperial arrival on Merca from the Wild Karda. As expected, Grand Admiral Thrawn arrived in the Star Destroyer Chimera and quickly took over the abandoned base. However, Thrawn deduced that the Wild Karda had remained in the system and called for an interdictor cruiser, the Constrainer, to trap the smuggler's ship. Jade received a force-related warning of the Imperial's arrival and activated the Wild Karda's engines, preparing them for flight. As the Constrainer reverted into the system, Jade piloted the ship out of its range and made the jump into hyperspace, her foresight saving them from an Imperial trap. While setting up a new base for Karda's group on Rishi, Jade was confronted by a bounty hunter, Gunnar Groth, whom she killed. However, Karda's organization was forced to flee again. Sent to Abrigado Ray to retrieve the Etherway, a ship of Karda's that had been impounded, Jade's departure was interrupted by the arrival of the Victory-class Star Destroyer Adamant. Realizing that Thrawn would not stop hunting them, Jade turned herself over to Thrawn, reclaiming her role as the Emperor's hand and offering the location of the Katana fleet in exchange for amnesty for Karda and his men. Thrawn agreed, though suspiciously, and double-crossed Jade by placing a tracking device on her ship. Once she arrived at Karda's next hideout, Imperial stormtroopers followed and captured Carter. Disgusted by Thrawn's betrayal and feeling a deep loyalty to Carter, Jade decided to break him out of the Imperial brig, but knew she needed help. She traveled to Jomark with the East Salamir, where Luke Skywalker was training under Jorus C'baoth. C'baoth attempted to knock her out of the sky with rocks as she landed, but she managed to set her ship down and make her way towards Skywalker's location. As she climbed down a cliff, R2-D2, controlling Skywalker's X-Wing, nearly blasted her. Convincing the droid that C'baoth was working for the Empire and that Skywalker owed Carter, she was ferried down to Skywalker's location by hanging from the starfighter's landing skid. After a brief confrontation with C'baoth, resulting in him being stunned by a near miss from a laser cannon fired by R2-D2, Jade wanted to finish off the insane Jedi Master, but Skywalker persuaded her not to. Despite her reservations, she convinced Skywalker to join her in rescuing Carter from Thrawn's ship, the Chimera, using the skip-ray blast boat she had used to reach Jomark. With her passwords to slice into the computer, she and Skywalker reached the detention block and freed Carter. Although Thrawn shut down the ship's computer, the trio managed to escape in the Millennium Falcon, which the Empire had retrieved from Endor. Jade and Carter's group later returned to assist the New Republic in the battle for the Katana fleet. Jade piloted a Z-95 headhunter in the battle, but was left drifting in space after an ion cannon blast. Fortunately, Luke Skywalker rescued her before she succumbed to exposure. Taken to Coruscant for a month of nerve regeneration therapy, Jade found herself almost entirely alone in the Imperial Palace. She intended to leave the planet, but before she could, she detected an Imperial intrusion team heading for the Solo family's quarters. Alongside Lando Calrissian and Garm Bel Iblis, she chased down the intruders. Pinned down, Jade used her knowledge of the palace's secret passages to get behind the Imperial commando team. Relaying a plan to Leia Organa Solo using the Force, she successfully gunned down the entire squad. However, Major Molo Himron, the team leader, survived and implicated her in the attack, leading to her imprisonment by order of Colonel Jack Bremen. While imprisoned, Jade learned about Thrawn's use of clones through Organa Solo and remembered the location of the Emperor's cloning center. Realizing they could be compromised if they went through normal channels, Skywalker, Solo, Calrissian, and Chewbacca broke Jade out of prison and took her with them on the Falcon. She provided them with the location of Wayland and the cloning center. The group, including R2-D2 and C-3PO, successfully landed in the forest. Jade was once again forced to collaborate with Skywalker, who encouraged her to further develop her Force skills. Skywalker gradually realized that Jade was acting under Palpatine's telepathic command, rather than her own volition. Jade, too, began to understand that she was being used to exact Palpatine's last bit of revenge on Darth Vader. Skywalker promised to help her remove the command, even though being near her obviously endangered his life. Both had premonitions of encountering the insane C'baoth on the planet, which proved true upon reaching the Mount Tantiss stronghold after a challenging journey through the forest. Jade asked Skywalker to kill her, rather than let C'baoth take over her mind, but the Jedi promised that she wouldn't face anything alone. While searching for a remote destruct mechanism for the facility, Skywalker and Jade encountered the crazed Jedi Master, who attacked them with Force lightning and pitted Skywalker against a clone of himself, armed with his father's lightsaber. Despite the aid of the Solos and Carter, they struggled to defeat C'baoth until Jade retrieved Leia Organa Solo's lightsaber and charged at the Dark Jedi. Skywalker injured his clone and strengthened Jade with the Force, allowing her to fulfill the Emperor's command by slaying the clone. Enraged, C'baoth attacked with a Force scream, Force lightning and rocks, but Jade, fulfilling C'baoth's vision of bowing before him by kneeling to avoid his attacks, stabbed him with a lightsaber. Skywalker's Force powers protected her from the dark side energy released upon C'baoth's death, and they escaped in the wild Carder as Calrissian and Chewbacca destroyed the facility. As a token of friendship, Skywalker gave her his father's lightsaber, which she would continue to use in the years ahead. With the clone's death, Jade was finally free from Sidious's telepathic command. Jade was later sent by Carter to aid the New Republic after the Empire's capture of Coruscant. The New Republic had dispatched couriers to various parts of the fleet to inform them of their retreat, as their communications had been cut off. One part of the fleet had relocated, so the New Republic paid Jade to meet with the courier ship messenger to update the crew. Jade enjoyed the discomfort of Colonel Bremen, who had detained her on Coruscant when she found him on the ship. However, a homing beacon in the messenger lured a Carrack-class cruiser, and Jade shot down some of its ties to allow the courier to escape. Sidious was not content with Jade's absence and sent several of his servants, including the mysterious Black Hole, to intercept her on her way to a Smugglers' Alliance meeting in the Sennic sector. She was captured, but Kyle Katarn and some of his associates later freed her. During the mission, they learned about an unknown Sith temple. After fully renouncing the dark side of the Force, Jade sought out Kyle Katarn for Jedi training. They engaged in a reciprocal apprenticeship, following the ancient Jedi tradition of the Concordance of Fealty. In 10 ABY, she and Katarn were on the front lines of Altair 5, aiding the New Republic base under attack from the Dark Empire's artificial asteroids. Katarn successfully repelled the attack and destroyed the asteroids, later discovering a lead about the planet Dromund Kaas's significance to the Empire, and set out to investigate. Jade's first solo mission for the Republic involved negotiating with Kappa the Hutt over supplies. To secure Kappa's cooperation, she had to steal Takara's GCT device. While searching for Takara's Lieutenant Abron Mar in the Katrasi spaceport, Jade was trapped by Takara. She escaped by killing a Rancor and stole the device, pleasing Kappa, who then agreed to help the Republic. Her next mission took place on a Republic Corellian corvette guarding a Jedi holocron. The ship was attacked by Karabani's pirates, who stole the holocron. Jade decided to infiltrate the pirates' base on Rathalay by hiding in a cargo crate. Using her training, she reclaimed the holocron and escaped, encountering the severed head of the droid 8T-88, a former adversary of Katarn who planned vengeance on whoever had decapitated it. Jade then traveled to Dromund Kaas in search of Katarn. Navigating the planet's swamps, she defeated many native creatures, including a doppelganger of herself, and reached the Dark Force Temple. There she found Katarn immersed in the dark side. They fought multiple times, but Jade managed to fend him off each time. During their final encounter, she turned off her lightsaber and surrendered, prompting Katarn to realize he could not continue down the dark path and return to the light side. When Palpatine returned in a cloned body, Jade refused to believe it was truly him and spurned any thought of returning to his service. Instead, she assisted the New Republic in evacuating Coruscant and transporting cargo for the government. Darth Sidious replaced her and the other hands with new dark side adepts, including Cedric QL. After Katarn left the Jedi path and returned to his military career, Jade participated in a mission for Carter to track down Yorj Cardass, posing as Lando Calrissian's associate as a cover. This mission took them to the Cathol Rift, where they encountered Krev Bombassa and helped him out of a difficult situation, a favor Carter would later use to his advantage. In 11 ABY, Jade returned to the Jedi Praxium on Yavin 4 to further her Jedi training, arriving during the tumultuous period following Gantoris's death and Kip Durran's first act of rebellion, both influenced by the spirit of the ancient Sith Lord Exar Kun. Initially, Jade and Corran Horn, studying under the alias Kieran Halcyon, had a rocky relationship but eventually settled their differences and got along well. She even allowed Horn to use her headhunter, though Durran later stole it to seize the Suncrusher superweapon. Under Cam Solusar's tutelage, Jade and Horn trained together, appreciating each other's differences. This proved wise, as Kun soon took control of Durran, causing chaos among the Jedi. Jade left the academy but returned upon hearing that Kun had put Skywalker in a coma. She helped Horn defeat Kun's spirit by arriving just in time to save Horn, who was severely injured and nearly overwhelmed by his fears. Together, they tricked Kun into returning to the Praxium to use fellow apprentice Streen against Skywalker, leading to Kun's destruction by the combined force power of the students. Afterward, Jade helped the injured Horn back to the Great Temple but left the Praxium again after the incident. During this period, Jade also became a prominent leader within the Smugglers' Alliance. Lando Calrissian, flush with cash from recent successes, sought to profit from mining glitterstim on Kessel. Jade led a group of Smugglers' Alliance vessels to Kessel to help him oust the current administrator, Moruth Dul. However, Jade was not entirely pleased with Calrissian, as she found his constant flirting irritating. though she was impressed by his generosity in giving the Falcon to Han Solo as a gift after winning it back in a game of sabacc. Shortly after they secured the planet, Jade, Solo, and Calrissian faced a prototype Death Star, which destroyed Kessel's moon. Jade and her Smugglers Alliance ships launched an attack on the prototype, but it fled. Jade and the Falcon pursued it into the heart of the Maw, determined not to let the superweapon escape. In an effort to disable its super laser, she and Calrissian donned environment suits and infiltrated the core of the prototype, planting thermal detonators along the reactor core. However, they were attacked by space troopers. The duo escaped, but a space trooper removed all but one of their charges, causing less damage than anticipated. Fortunately, Durran, free from Kuhn's influence, led the prototype into a gravitational well, crushing it and eliminating the threat permanently. Sometime later, while the Solos were on Belsavis, they contacted Mara Jade for information about the planet. Jade recalled breaking into its secure files while working for the Empire. She shared details about a secret mission to attack one of the rifts, revealing how Palpatine and Vader used a combination of drugs and the dark side to create crazed, mindless guards, similar to those the Solos had encountered in the smugglers' tunnels. Later, she received a call from the Solos after they learned of an Emperor's hand on the planet, initially assuming it was her. All she had was some coordinates from a landing pad that Han Solo had asked for, but she quickly learned of Leia Solo's disappearance and the presence of an Emperor's hand on Belsavis years before, a mission she had never been on. Realizing that the Emperor had lied to her about being his only hand, Jade was outraged when Han Solo mentioned the name of the other hand, Roganda Ismaren. This revelation, along with her deduction that Lumiya was also an Emperor's hand, infuriated her. Immediately heading for Belsavis, Jade encountered Skywalker and a group of brainwashed crewers from the recently destroyed Eye of Palpatine. She brought them with her to Belsavis for treatment, noting Skywalker's serious leg injury. She also retrieved an escape pod from the Dreadnought, finding Callista Ming, a Jedi who had escaped the Eye of Palpatine after helping destroy it and had fallen in love with Skywalker. On Belsavis, Jade assisted in rounding up the last of the insane guards, many of whom she had once known. Sometime after taking a significant role in the Smugglers' Alliance with Lando Calrissian, Jade's contacts informed her of a Hutt plot related to Orko Skymine. Jade traveled to the Yavin 4 Jedi Praxium to warn Skywalker. Taking him on a ride in her ship, she shared the information and admitted that she occasionally enjoyed seeing him. He invited her to stay for dinner, where she met Callista Ming. Ming confirmed she was Skywalker's new partner and asked if Jade had ever been interested in him. Jade replied that she once wanted nothing more than to kill him, a revelation that did not seem to cause any tension between the women. During that period, Jade maintained her on and off association with Calrissian. She was recently away from him and aboard the Wild Carder with Carder after they had spent a week together on Mon Calamari when he called for information and she told him about the bombing of the Senate Hall. She also assisted Carder in delivering a pair of Ysalamiri to Han Solo over Almania when he went in search of Quella, the mastermind behind the bombing who was attempting to kill Skywalker. Jade even accompanied him to the planet's surface, motivated by her concern for Skywalker and her fear of what Quella could do to the galaxy. As the Falcon blasted its way to the surface through Quella's forces, Jade joined Solo and Chewbacca and brought the force-empty bubble of the Ysalamir to where Skywalker and his sister were confronting Quella, arriving just in time to save Skywalker from certain death. On another occasion, while commanding the Wild Carder in Carder's temporary absence, Jade and the crew were captured by Jar Badrin, a wealthy industrialist whose daughter Sansia had been captured by the slaver Che Presh. At gunpoint, Badrin forced Jade to go to Torpris to rescue Sansia, who had, like all female human prisoners of Presh, been forced to work in the slime pits. Jade had no choice but to comply, as she had no way of contacting Carder, and Badrin threatened to execute the rest of the crew if she didn't do as he wished. Jade entered the palace under the pretense of bringing a gift to Presh, supposedly unaware that she herself was the gift. However, her lightsaber was discovered at the entrance and thrown to nearby scavengers, where it was caught by a Togorian named Hasishi, Upon seeing Jade, Praish had his guards lash her with neuronic whips and throw her into the slime pits, unaware of her identity or intent. Jade made contact with Sansia, who revealed that her father only wanted an experimental, heavily upgraded Sorosub 3000 luxury yacht that had also been stolen. Jade then inflicted an injury on herself and was taken to the slave infirmary, where she used the Force to obscure the camera and steal some of the drugs and chemicals stored there. Once she returned to the slave barracks, Jade used her skills as a saboteur to mix the chemicals into weapons. One combination created a fire that allowed her and Sansia to escape in the confusion. Some guards were dispatched with the acid she had created, but they were still overpowered and forced to surrender. Dragged before Praish for interrogation, Jade was at a loss for what to do. However, the scavenger Hasishi entered with her lightsaber, actually Skywalker's, claiming it bore the corporate signature of another weapons syndicate. Hasishi then stunned Praish and threw the lightsaber to Jade, who easily defeated the guards. Jade and Hasishi fled to the yacht, which Sansia had recovered after making her own escape during the fight. Returning to Badrin's mansion, Jade was surprised to find that Karda, with the aid of some Nogri, had already taken the place and was preparing a mission to rescue her. Jade also got Badrin to reveal that the entire abduction was a setup, designed to help him take out Praish and capture some stolen prototypes. Outraged, Sansia gave Jade the upgraded Sorosub yacht, which she renamed the Jade's Fire. Around that time, Karda started helping her set up her own independent trading company. By 18 ABY, Jade had temporarily left Karda's organization and was running a legitimate independent trading company, which was intended to prepare her to eventually take over Karda's operations. While in the Talfalio system, the Jade's Fire intercepted a drone carrying a message cube with an Imperial code addressed to Leia Organa Solo. Intrigued, she set course for the Corellian system, believing the message to be urgent. Upon arriving over Corellia, she attended the trade summit in Coronet City, where she encountered Leia and Han Solo. Jade informed them of the message cube, and Leia escorted Jade to her apartment, along with Han Solo, to unlock the message cube, which was coded to Leia's fingerprints. The cube revealed the Sicorian Triad and Human League's insurrection plans, led by Han Solo's cousin Thrakan Sal Solo, to blackmail the New Republic by destroying several stars using a superweapon. Shortly after, the Human League incited riots and began their insurrection, and Jade, having left the Solo's apartment, vanished. Jade was eventually captured by the Human League and imprisoned with Leia on Corellia as the Corellian crisis erupted across the system. With her crew missing, Jade had even more reason to fight against the Human League. Though neither woman trusted the other, they decided to work together and escaped from their cells, rappelling down into Solo's former quarters to retrieve Solo's lightsaber and blaster. They then departed the planet on Jade's ship, the Jade's Fire, summoned by Jade using a beacon call. Both injured, they were content to escape Human League captivity and eventually headed to Solonia. As they approached the planet, they detected the Bakuran fleet and a cone ship carrying Han Solo and a Solonian who had also escaped from the Human League on Corellia. Jade docked the Jade's Fire with the cone ship, reuniting Solo with her husband. Both vessels continued towards Solonia but were intercepted by hostile fighters before they could land. The Jade's Fire provided cover for the defenseless cone ship until Jade and Leia Solo shot down the remaining fighters. On Solonia, the Solos and Jade tried to persuade the Solonians to assist them by turning over a planetary repulsor. However, they were imprisoned for a short time. They were freed following Luke Skywalker's arrival, and Jade helped convince the Solonians to sell the operating instructions for the planetary repulsor needed to stop the Starbuster weapon on Centerpoint Station from destroying an inhabited system. She participated in the final battle at Centerpoint Station aboard the Jade's Fire, fighting alongside the Falcon and Calrissian's ship, the Lady Luck, against the Sicorian Triad fleet. The Solo children, with the help of the instructions Jade had helped acquire and Bakuran technicians, successfully prevented Centerpoint from destroying its next target by using a burst from the planetary repulsor on Drawl. Shortly afterward, Jade became involved in the events surrounding the Karmas document crisis in 19 ABY, when she and Karda arrived on Wayland to hire some Nogri for his organization. Upon receiving a call from Kachmaim, the wild card forced down the ship of Lakjit, a Devaronian who had found information implicating the Bothans in Palpatine's destruction of Kamas. Later, sensing a disturbance in the Force, Jade rescued Skywalker from the Kavrilhu pirates while on a mission for Carter to investigate pirate groups that might have been using clones. Skywalker had been infiltrating the group when discovered, and Carter had sent Jade in the starry ice to check on him and the pirates. Her timely arrival allowed Skywalker to survive the pirate base's self-destruct sequence by floating a short distance across the vacuum to her ship in a Jedi hibernation trance. As they left the pirate base, a small Chiss ship flew by, investigating them before jumping to hyperspace. This would not be the last time Jade encountered these types of ships. After meeting Carter on the errant venture, the Star Destroyer received a flyby from another one of the ships. After the fighter jumped to hyperspace, Carter and Jade plotted the ship's destination, the planet Nirawan. She decided to investigate the world in the starry ice. Jade journeyed to the Hand of Thrawn complex on Nirawan, losing contact with Carter and his organization after landing on the planet in a Defender starfighter. While exploring the area near the fortress, she fell and was knocked unconscious by a rock. Her absence and failure to report in prompted the second-in-command, Thrawn, to set out on the starry ice to seek assistance, leaving her stranded. Thrawn reported to Carter, who was with Luke Skywalker at the time. Skywalker had been investigating a Force vision of Jade lying face down in water when he met Carter, and the vision had disturbed both of them. The Jedi agreed to go to Nirawan to rescue her, bringing the Jade's fire and his X-Wing to the remote planet. 15 days after she had been stranded on Nirawan, Skywalker finally reached the cave where she had been hiding, surrounded by the local Komjar who had carried her there when she fell unconscious. The Komjar had taken her weapons and prevented her from wandering too far, but had otherwise left her unharmed. They had also taken her starfighter and placed it inside the cave, as she was being hunted by the Chiss, who occupied the fortress. While Jade couldn't understand their Force-based communication, Skywalker could, and he showed her how to understand the aliens. Together, they convinced the aliens to help them infiltrate the fortress via a series of underground passages. As they traveled through the caves, they spent time settling some of their differences. Jade revealed to Skywalker that she had hoped for some attention at the Jedi Academy, but since it never happened, she stopped attending. She also told him that he should stop trying to handle everything himself, as he hadn't fully recovered from his experience serving the reborn Emperor. The layered cortosis in the tunnel walls, along with semi-sentient predators and fire creepers, slowed them down, but they managed to penetrate the fortress. Along with their native guides and R2-D2, they explored the lower levels but had to retreat after a pair of Chiss gunmen opened fire on them with Chariks, injuring Jade in the shoulder. Skywalker helped her back into the caves, where he placed her into a Jedi healing trance. By that point, Skywalker had realized that he loved Jade, expressing his feelings by kissing her while she slept. When they awoke, Skywalker confronted her about her past and her reluctance to dedicate herself to serving others, but the conversation turned into an argument. Skywalker inquired about her relationship with Calrissian, while she brought up his experiences with Gariel Captison and Callista Ming. Jade eventually calmed down and revealed to Skywalker that her relationship with Calrissian had been a cover story for Carter's mission. This discussion led to a lowering of the barrier between them, bringing them into close mental contact. When they re-entered the fortress, they discovered the existence of the Empire of the Hand and their plans to turn its considerable territory and resources over to the Imperial Remnant. Realizing they needed more information, Jade went to talk to the fortress inhabitants and encountered a group of Isalamiri, as well as the leaders, Vos Park and Suntir Fel. Park shared the true story of Thrawn's mission and history while trying to recruit her into the Empire of the Hand. He also informed her about numerous threats in the unknown regions that the Empire of the Hand was supposed to guard against. When she refused and they became aware of Skywalker's presence, they decided to keep the two Jedi prisoner by forcing them into hibernation trances, mainly by inflicting non-lethal wounds on Jade. She tried to avoid being shot, but Park remained unconvinced, Fortunately, Skywalker intervened by cutting through the wall. Park ordered his troops to stand down to prevent unnecessary bloodshed, and the two escaped, pursued by Chiss troops once they were clear of the officers. Arriving at the fortress hangar, they disabled the clawcraft there, taking one for their escape. Outside the fortress, the two realized they needed to return to obtain data on the threats Park had mentioned earlier. While Skywalker rested in a hibernation trance, Jade made her sacrifice. Using a beacon call for her ship, she crashed the Jade's fire into the hangar, preventing Park from contacting and turning over his resources to the Remnant, which would use them against the New Republic. Sneaking in through a second passageway shown to them by their alien guides, Skywalker and Jade entered a different part of the fortress, this time encountering an unripe clone of Thrawn. However, two guard droids layered with Cortosis armor attacked them on a floor laced with rope snares. Fighting back to back, the two joined minds to battle the droids in perfect coordination, though they had little chance of defeating the two droids. However, R2-D2 distracted one of the droids long enough for them to cut through the wall, letting water from a lake on the other side into the room. In the confusion from the flood, Skywalker destroyed the two droids. Realizing the water had trapped them inside, Skywalker told Jade of a vision he had of her lying face down in water, and also confessed his love to her, which she had fully realized when they had joined minds. As the water rose, Luke Skywalker asked her to marry him, and she accepted. Skywalker then realized that letting water into the fusion generator in the cloning chamber would create a blast big enough to blow through the wall. Jade made the cut, as she had more experience with the needed technique, a Paparak crosscut. As the water roared through the newly created outlet, Skywalker put her in a hibernation trance, and they both flew through the water unconscious. Luke awoke first and pulled Jade from where she had been lying face down in the water, waking her with the phrase, "I love you, Mara." With the aid of the Komja and Komkai natives one final time, they boarded their ships, with both of them in the clawcraft they had taken, and left the planet for the New Republic. As an added bonus, R2-D2 had picked up Thrawn's copy of the Kaamas document while in the fortress, which they took back to resolve the conflict that had broken out over Bothawui. After the signing of the Pelion Gavrisum Treaty, Skywalker and Jade took a couple of weeks to relax on Garki in the Outer Rim. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Leia Solo announced their wedding, which the press saw as a symbol of unity between the Empire and the New Republic. Adding to the complications, C-3PO got involved in the wedding planning, leading to a grandiose ceremony that Jade found overwhelming. As part of the preparations, Jade had to contend with several dress designers vying to create her wedding gown. The designs ranged from a mask dress to a black dress reminiscent of Imperial agents' attire, to a minimalist dress that Jade refused to even step out of the dressing room in. Frustrated, she left Solo's apartment where the designers had been coming and went for a walk. On the streets, she encountered a despondent Twi'lek dress designer named Jarikin, who had been trying to present her design to Jade, but had been fired by her employer. Jade revealed her identity to Jarikin and was impressed with her designs. Shortly after commissioning her dressmaker, Skywalker and Jade had a private, informal Jedi wedding ceremony at the Jedi training area on Coruscant. They joined two halves of a crystal together as a symbol of their union and were married by Kam Solusar. However, Jade was displeased to learn that Skywalker had gotten into a bar fight during his bachelor party and was disturbed by a nightmare in which Palpatine had won and she was marrying a dark, side-corrupted Skywalker. While Skywalker and his male friends recuperated from their altercation, Jade and her bridesmaids, Leia Solo, Mirax Terek Horn, Iella Wasiri Antilles, Winter Kelchu, and Tion Solusar, went to a spa to relax. Growing bored, they decided to work off some stress on the slingball court, easily defeating a group of pilots from Champion Squadron. They all agreed not to tell their husbands about the event, having already scolded them for the bar fight. After leaving the spa, Jade went to pick up her gown from Jarikin and was impressed by it. However, they were attacked by a former Imperial Royal Guardsman intent on derailing the wedding. Still carrying her lightsaber, Jade quickly defeated him. On the day of her formal wedding, despite an Imperial plot to ruin the ceremony and a former Moff threatening to shut down all communications at the climax, Skywalker and his friends managed to prevent any serious disruptions. The Jedi calmed the Moff while the rogues, Chewbacca and Solusar, dealt with the Imperials. The couple exchanged vows and rings and were introduced to the galaxy as the Skywalkers. After the reception, Han Solo flew them to their honeymoon site. A year after their marriage, Jade Skywalker became frustrated with Skywalker's time being constantly taken by others as he arbitrated disputes on a planet that revered Jedi wisdom. Her husband, however, had made special arrangements for a second honeymoon, which delighted her, though she playfully warned him not to call her a blushing bride like their native host did. For the next few years, Skywalker spent most of his time at the Jedi Academy instructing Jedi candidates in the ways of the Force. Jade Skywalker, retaining some of her wanderlust, traveled extensively with smuggler Mirax Terrick Horn and assisted the fledgling Jedi Knights in leaving Yavin 4. During that time, she and Mirax were brought up on charges but were ultimately exonerated,